Hey everybody, it's me, Jill. Welcome to Jill Informed. This is the recap of The Real Housewives of New York City, Season 11, Episode 3. It's a clam shame. As you know by now, I missed episode 2 because I was sick, and I hate that I have to miss anything at all. But I will say this, not a lot happened, so I was super happy about that. I was able to watch the show, I just wasn't feeling well enough to film or anything like that. So when it ended, I was like, oh good. They didn't even really show the Clambake yet. So yeah, not a lot happened in episode 2. Tinsley and Sonja finally arrived safely in the car that Tinsley was driving from the city. And they're staying with Ramona and Dorinda at Ramona's house. And they were all kind of talking about LuAnn and Bethenny. And then this was awkward because the four of them were going out to dinner that night. And they had invited Bethenny and LuAnn. Or at least LuAnn, I think. Then Sonja's phone rings, and it's LuAnn inviting her to go out to dinner with her and Bethenny and Barbara Kay. Guys, let me just say this about Barbara Kay. You know I had a bad feeling about Barbara Kay. And then one of you guys reached out to me and told me that you had a real life experience with Barbara Kay that was unpleasant. So I'm still gonna try and reserve judgment, but knowing that she didn't treat one of you guys very well, I am predisposed to not liking her. Like I said, I'm going to try to reserve judgment, but I already got a bad feeling, and now I've got a piece of information to solidify that bad feeling, so it's not going to be easy for me. Bravo, please do not make her a housewife. Also, when I was complaining that Barbara Kay had her own confessional time, some of you guys reminded me of all the times that non-housewives had their own confessionals. Husbands, Camille Grammer, long after she wasn't a housewife. Danielle is not a housewife. So yeah, I stand corrected. Anyway, Sonja goes out to dinner with those ladies, Barbara, Bethenny, and LuAnn, leaving Dorinda, Tinsley, and Ramona to have dinner by themselves. I didn't think that was the right choice for Sonja, particularly because she is staying at Ramona's house. I don't know. I guess we'll see how this plays out. The next day, Dorinda called Barbara Kay to confirm that she was still invited to the Clambake, and she was not still invited to the Clambake. So Dorinda is now just really pissed. And Sonja was told to only bring Tinsley. Episode 2 ends with the very beginning of the Clambake, and walking through the door is Sonja and Tinsley and Ramona. Has decided that she's going to the Clambake. So, but that's where it ended. So I'm going to assume that that's where we are picking up with episode 3. So let's get started. Okay, well, Ramona, Sonja, and Tinsley walk in, and of course Bethenny and LuAnn are being very catty about Ramona being there. Oh, I knew Ramona would come. And Bethenny's like, of course, she came for the clams. She's probably going to put them in her, she probably brought an empty tote bag to fill with clams. And then Ramona, of course, doesn't make things any better by being overly weird and awkward toward Barbara. I brought you a rosé, and I got you, you know what that bakery taste? I got it's my favorite, the apple crumb pie. I got you that, and some cookies, because I know you have kids, and my daughter loves them. And to the confessional, Barbara's like, oh yeah, should I call my 20-year-old son and ask him if he wants to come over and have pie? But anyway, they eventually mosey on over to where LuAnn and Bethenny are. And Tinsley hugs Bethenny and tells her how sorry she is, because that's the first time she's seeing her since Dennis died. It was okay, I guess. But then Ramona wandered over, and LuAnn said, okay, Ramona, let's cut to the chase. And she pulls out her phone, I guess, to go through text messages. Oh no, I think she said that Ramona's been talking about her online, so maybe she was going to pull up some article. But Ramona said, no, can we just not do that, please? And she like kind of walks away, and LuAnn's like, good, walk away then. Go over there if you don't want to deal with things. Then she says to Bethenny, can we not talk about things at a Clambake? But now Ramona is over by Barbara, talking to her and telling her everything and saying, I didn't want to bring up all this bad stuff at Barbara's event. Oh, I love how everything's an event. Remember the hatchet event that Dolores had? Now this is Barbara's clam event. Barbara says to the confessional, I'm not going to not be nice to her. Somebody comes to my house. I'm not going to not be nice to her. Let's just see where this is going to go. And Ramona are kind of getting into a conversation a little bit. And Barbara is defending LuAnn, and Ramona is defending Dorinda, which I'm kind of surprised that Ramona is taking the stand for anybody other than Ramona, you know? But the thing I'm noticing the most about this scene is how Sonja is just standing next to Barbara, shoveling the clams in her mouth, parroting whatever Barbara's saying. Well, I wish Dorinda would have just called LuAnn. Sonja, yeah, she should have just called her. And Ramona goes, well, how do we know LuAnn would even want to hear from her? Barbara, she said she would. Sonja, yeah, she said she would. Oh, God. But at one point, Ramona said, she's been talking negatively about Dorinda in the press and at her cabaret show. And Barbara goes, I don't think that's true. Then Bravo shows us a flashback to one of the cabaret shows where she is making a joke about, I think Dorinda might be in the back cutting up my dresses. So, yeah, she was kind of. I don't think I'm really on anybody's side here. Clearly, Dorinda is wrong, too. Dorinda is a messy drunk and should not have said what she said last year about LuAnn. And LuAnn has a tendency to act better than everybody else. And, you know, she shouldn't do that either. So I don't think I really have a dog in this fight yet. Oh my God, these ladies. Ramona, Sonja, and Tinsley had a plan that they were going to only be at the Clambake for like a half hour, an hour or something. And then they were going to go back and spend time with Dorinda because Dorinda wasn't invited. And I kind of understood that then because Dorinda would have gone, but she was uninvited. But once they're there, Barbara said, oh, we'll take some food for Dorinda. And they're like, oh, that's very nice of you. Yeah. So they are like, they've got a big plate of like lobster that they're bringing home. And then Sonja said, what about then like the meat? Are you, and then she says to Tinsley, do you eat meat? And Tinsley goes, well, yeah, I do. But, well, yeah, okay, then the second plate will be like meat. Is this just for Dorinda? Well, it's for all of us. Okay, no, you guys don't go to a party. You don't go to somebody's party for 30 minutes and then load up 3 giant plates of food after a half hour and go home. That's insane. A little earlier, Bethenny was talking to Tinsley, and she's like, so how is it over at the Blonde house? And she's like, I mean, you know, it's okay. And she goes, the Blondes stick together. You need to come over to the dark side. I don't know. It was just it was a weirdly kind of stupid conversation. Also, Bethenny told us that she is going to be going out to dinner with this guy who asked her out, and she's not sure if she's ready yet, and she might start crying on the date, but she does want to like fill her time and stay busy. And so that whole thing feels a little weird. And maybe it was a little weird. Maybe it's just because their relationship was on again, off again. Maybe that does make you feel a little, not that she wouldn't mourn, of course she would, but maybe it feels a little strained because you might feel a little weird mourning the way a wife would or a fiance. But this was almost that. It's just that sometimes they were broken up. So I don't know. I guess I'm not going to judge her yet. Okay. So in the confessional, Tinsley says basically what I just said, that it feels really rude to be like leaving after a half hour and taking all this food. And so as they're doing it, LuAnn said, you're leaving? You're not even going to eat? That's so rude. I mean, Barbara counted you when she was thinking about the food. No food for them. Okay, like the soup Nazi. Tinsley's like, well, I mean, Dorinda is back there by herself. Well, Dorinda needs to be alone to think things through. Finally, LuAnn's like, whatever. Do what you want. Making it really obvious that they're doing something incredibly rude. To the confessional, Sonja goes, I don't know why LuAnn is making such a big deal about it. I can't believe how snarky LuAnn is being about the food. I am not leaving without the lobsters. That's just who I am. Oh my God, I love it. So now they're back at Ramona's, and Dorinda's like, I was watching Law and Order, and I had some spaghetti, and I was passed out with the dogs. These guys, they just came back too soon. Now they're in the kitchen. They're filling her in on everything. Tinsley said, I met Barbara for the first time, and she was really nice. And then I went over by Lou, and LuAnn and Ramona, they were having some issue with each other. I don't even know what that was about. And then Sonja said, it's because you said she passed out in somebody's lap and that she got kicked out of Chris Birch's party. Ramona goes, would you just let me explain? Then we cut back to Sonja, who's got like what looks like a whole lime in her mouth. Where did that come from? It was a very weird editing thing. They're all around the kitchen island just eating all kinds of... These women are ravenous. I have never seen housewives eat as much as these ladies have eaten this episode. Starting with the Clambake, coming home from the Clambake with a ton of food, and now they have this other spread of food. And Dorinda claims she had spaghetti while they were gone. I mean, they're making me hungry is what's happening here. But I have never seen housewives eat this much. Anyway, while this discussion is going on, it does seem as though Tinsley is admitting that LuAnn was definitely the aggressor here and was kind of trying to get something going with Ramona, and Ramona was not taking the bait. Maybe that's Ramona being an adult, or maybe that's just Ramona knowing that she said things that weren't true and she doesn't really have a leg to stand on, so she doesn't want to have this conversation. Just a thought. And then Sonja definitely feels like she is defending LuAnn over Dorinda. I can't remember. Dorinda said something and Sonja said, she's hurt. And Dorinda said, I'm hurt by what she said. And then we see like an OK Magazine headline that says, RHONY star LuAnn de Lesseps says that Dorinda Medley can't cop to drinking problem. And then with what we, the jokes she makes at the cabaret show, we know that they're kind of attacking each other. So, okay. Now it's going a little too far. They're talking about LuAnn's lawsuit, and Dorinda goes, she needs to... This is Dorinda's problem. She fights dirty then. She needs to go back to her children's home. Okay, that's a dig at the fact that her children and her ex-husband own the house that she lives in Sag Harbor, right? And her saying she needs to go back to her children's home is Dorinda's way of, taking a dig at her. This all kind of happened fast. So somebody, I think, said that's over with. And then Sonja said, no, that lawsuit's not over. It's going to take a long time. And Sonja said, that's why I asked Bethenny to get Dennis involved, because she needed a smart guy involved in this. Ramona, how smart could he have been? He was doing drugs. Oh, God. I mean, he's dead, Ramona. Maybe you don't talk that way about him. Okay, we're back in the city and we're checking in with all the ladies. Tinsley is at like a canine clothing store getting a sweater for her dog. And Sonja is preparing for a party. She's checking out a venue for a big party. We check in with Bethenny. She's on her way to the Carolinas after the hurricane there, and she's, bringing cash cards and supplies, solar panels because they don't have power. She's bringing pet supplies and toys for kids, and it's all good. I mean, if you ask me, that is the best way she can spend her time to keep herself busy and keep her mind occupied. I think it's awesome what she does. And then we check in with LuAnn, and she is getting all this furniture delivered to a new apartment in the city because she had a 6-month lease where she was before. But now that the cabaret show is taking off so well, she needs a permanent place so that she can have her cabaret show in the city. To the confessional, she's like, 9 months ago I was arrested, and now I'm a cabaret star. It's just crazy. Okay, we get a scene of Bethenny in the Carolinas where it was Hurricane Florence, which was downgraded but really became a flooding issue. And so they were getting supplies to the areas where nobody could get to the people, or the people couldn't get to their homes. So they're, staying in shelters and stuff like that. The next scene is Dorinda meeting with Barbara Kay in the city. They're at Sarah Beth's. And, Dorinda is saying, listen, you and I have an independent relationship. So there's no reason why whatever's going on between me and LuAnn should get between us. And Barbara agreed. But also Dorinda wanted to remind her that she too had a problem with LuAnn, where she was very hurt by LuAnn. And she said, yes, I remember. I don't know if she was uninvited to LuAnn's wedding or not. But we do again see the scene where Barbara said, not on camera, but caught on Carol's microphone when she was saying that, LuAnn would rather go through with the wedding and get divorced than not marry Tom at all. And she was right. I mean, that's kind of exactly what happened. So that was weird, but she definitely didn't seem like a good friend to LuAnn then. Anyway, Barbara's thing is that LuAnn's sobriety means everything to her right now, and she's very protective of that. And if it means that not having you around to trigger her, then, that's what I'm going to do. Dorinda said she was insulted by the fact that she thought her presence would trigger her, but they ended up agreeing that the two of them, their friendship was still strong, I guess. Okay, so this event that Sonja was looking at the venue for is her paper magazine party. Paper magazine had reached out to Sonja and they wanted to do a cover story on her. And she's showing up with, a gaggle of beautiful boys behind her and her long, long blonde wig. I'm trying to figure out if I like this look for Sonja. Sonja is a very beautiful woman. The jury is still out for me on whether I like this long, straight blonde hair for her. Oh, I know. Let's do a little poll. Do you like Sonja's look here at the party or her confessional look? And I'll show both pictures now. So the confessional is very sort of got a little bit of a 50s kind of look with that poof, and then this is how she looks at the party. Let's see what you guys think. Okay, so everybody's showing up to the party. Bethenny shows up first, and then Dorinda, who is also wearing leopard, but she claims that she asked ahead of time if she could wear leopard the same as Sonja. She said, I would never upstage the party girl. Everybody looks fabulous. And then Tinsley shows up with Dale. Yay! Now it's a party when Dale shows up. I was looking at your pictures on Instagram and they are fabulous, Sonja. I love Dale. Okay, now Dorinda and Bethenny are over by the bar and they're talking about Dennis. Of course, Dorinda said to her, I'm so sorry again, and I've been thinking about you and praying for you. And she's like, thank you, thank you. And she said it's getting a little bit better. And then at one point, she sees this giant rock on Bethenny's finger. And she goes, what is that? She says, it's from Dennis. And she said, April 25th, he asked me to marry him. And Dorinda's like, what? I didn't know you were engaged. And she's like, yeah, I didn't tell anybody. Yeah, it's just something I wanted to keep to ourselves. And you bought it from and she's, doing her Bethenny speak real fast. And Dorinda's like, oh, did Bryn know? And she said he gave Bryn a ring too. So now Dorinda's just like starts crying, and then Bethenny's crying a little bit. And listen, it's sad and it's tragic, but I feel like she's misleading her a little bit. I think that Dorinda now thinks that they were engaged when he died. And that's not exactly the story Bethenny told before, right? Didn't Bethenny say he proposed to her and then she never really said yes? That there were a lot of terms and conditions and things they needed to talk about first? Like maybe even his addiction to painkillers, maybe. I mean, I'm just saying, I don't know that was a thing, but I'm just like, what other terms and conditions? I don't remember when my husband asked me to marry him that I said, well, yes, but there are some terms and conditions we need to go through first. So usually that means there's some issue. I really didn't get the impression that they were engaged, and I think she's definitely leading Dorinda to think that they were. I mean, I don't know that it even matters, but it does seem a little deceptive. All right, guests are still arriving. We have Ramona showing up, and she is in a form-fitting, sexy dress, and she is feeling herself. Now, this is Ramona, so it does not take much for her to feel herself. But she said, I saw it Sonja's magazine shoot, and I thought, I'm going to wear something to flaunt my body too. Because if you've got it, flaunt it. When am I going to do it? When I'm 90? Probably. And then Barbara Kay arrives. Bravo, stop trying to make Barbara Kay happen. And finally, LuAnn arrives, and she says hello to everybody, and she's very cordial to Ramona. Hello, Ramona, you look lovely. And to the confessional, Sonja said, I love when LuAnn and Ramona are on their best behavior, where they're just nice to each other and keep their distance. Anyway, on the other side of the room, Dorinda tells Bethenny, I'm going to break the ice with LuAnn. And Bethenny said, oh, you are? And she said, yeah, I'm just going to go over there and tell her she looks nice and say hello. And she said, I don't even know why we're having a problem with each other. And Bethenny's like, I think because both of you keep going back to the past and you're remembering things you said. And Dorinda stops her and goes, I don't care about anything in the past. I'm just living for today. Let's see how that goes. Okay, we get another Barbara Kay confessional because Barbara Kay is telling Dorinda, don't talk about anything in the past. Dorinda's like, don't tell me what to say, okay? Just like, you should butt out of it because it really doesn't involve you. So just like, you shouldn't say anything. So in this confessional, Barbara Kay's like, well, she's telling me not to butt in, but not Bethenny? What, is she afraid of her? Let's not start that again. This whole people are afraid of Bethenny. I don't think anybody is really afraid of Bethenny anymore. I think last year we proved that nobody's afraid of Bethenny. Anyway, that's getting started again. And then guess who shows up? My favorite character of any franchise, John Pedestrian. Dorinda has been with him for 7 years. Why? Is it like a Stockholm Syndrome thing? What is happening? I think he is the reason why Dorinda will never stop drinking. That's how she's managing to get through this relationship. Okay, so now Barbara goes over to LuAnn first to report to her what Dorinda said to her. Because she's mad that Dorinda told her to kind of butt out. LuAnn's like, well, let Bethenny talk to her then. And then she said, Dorinda's on the other side of the room. Did it ever occur to her that I don't want to go over by the bar? Yeah, probably. That's probably why she's standing there. That was just weird. But she is, I think, kind of screwing up the courage to go talk to her. But of course, Barbara has to go over there and kind of set the tone already as being bad. I don't know. Okay, so now Bethenny is going to go over there to where LuAnn is, but she looks and she goes, oh no, yeah, no, this isn't happening. She's in this like tight circle of 1,000,000 people, and they are all crammed together on this like banquet. And it's, well, all of them really are like just jammed in there, sitting there. Dale, Tinsley, Sonja, Ramona, everybody's jammed in there now. So Bethenny kind of motions LuAnn like to come over, and there's a whole long process of like Bethenny waving and all these people waving back, even Ramona. Finally LuAnn's like, me? Yeah, okay. And she's like, so she gets up and she starts walking over, and then Bethenny said, okay, you got an opening now. And Dorinda's like, well, what? You stay here, I don't want you to go. And Bethenny goes, I'm not going I'm not going to escort you. I just provided an opening for you. So she's like, well, sit down. You sit down. And she's like, okay, well, she's here now, so go. And Dorinda's like, I have to like get my courage up for a minute. So it's tense. And then you see LuAnn walk up, Dorinda turn around and go, hey, to be continued. Oh, God, that's where it ends. It feels so good to be back. Thank you guys so much for joining me. Please subscribe to Jill Informed if you haven't already. If you liked this video, please give it a thumbs up, and don't forget to leave a comment. I love to hear from you guys. I hope I will see you next Wednesday at 1 p.m. Central Time for the next recap of The Real Housewives of New York City. Bye-bye.